to the commission. She is our corporation counsel for this meeting. So, welcome.
Thank you.
Okay. First order of business is attendance. Commissioner Speyer is absent. Commissioner Black?
Here.
Commissioner Scott Berman?
Here.
Commissioner Franklin?
Here.
Commissioner Giviyahu?
Here.
Commissioner Witry is absent? My goodness, he didn't call? No, I guess not.
Montana.
Oh, he's in Montana, okay. Mr. Jeff Berman?
Here.
Mr. Matei?
Present.
And I'm here. And we do have a quorum. Next order of business, approval of the minutes. To have a motion to approve the minutes as
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a second? Thank you, Talia. Any additions or corrections to the minutes? None. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. For tonight, I'm going to just deviate from the agenda that you've been given tonight. I'm going to call case 2025-24P up, and related case 2025-25P, parking termination. The first one's a special use permit at 3941 Oakton, and Mike Wojtek from the staff will present the staff's report. Thank you.
Yes. Thanks, Ron. I'd like to request that staff report for cases 2025-24P and 2025-25P be accepted as written.
Is Mike on?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, okay.
The two cases are part of a request by the Assyrian National Council of Illinois for a civic, social, and fraternal organizations use. This is at 3941 Oakton Street, which is just east of the corner of Oakton and Crawford Avenue. I'm going to present case 2525P first, as that's the parking determination, which sets the need for the relief that's going to be requested in the special use permit. First of all, we're looking at the front of the building from Oakton Street. There's a total of 4 parking spaces off of Oakton Street, one of which is an accessible space. Either side of the parking has an area where landscaping can be planted, and we are going to ask that the petitioner provide that landscaping. In back, we have 5 additional parking spaces off of the public alley. You can see there's some bike parking already present next to the trash containers. The bike parking was installed when this case first came through for a special use permit in 2014. The background on the site is they did receive a special use permit at that time for the same use, which mainly serves as a senior center for the petitioner's use. There are also the ability to host some other event gatherings as well. At the time, there was 50 seats provided inside, and there was relief granted to provide 9 parking spaces instead of the required 13. So they paid for the relief from those 4 parking spaces. Also in 2014, there was no requirement that they apply for a parking determination. It was strictly based upon the relief needed at the request.
Did we determine that because of the usage? We figured that it wouldn't cause too much traffic there or parking?
Well, we evaluated assembly uses eventually. You may recall that religious assembly did not require a parking determination as well. It was the flat 1 space per 4 seats rule. And so we carried that over also into other types of assembly uses or like banquet facilities, where the thinking was that a group of people would arrive in a single car, and we would be able to justify less parking for that reason. They'd be coming and using less less parking. Within the past 10, 15 years, we have since made these assembly uses require a separate parking determination case, and that would be heard before the special use permit case would be heard. So the history on this is the petitioners, who are the same petitioners today as they were in the past, they requested the special use for this type of use. This was in 2014. They operated the facility up until COVID came in February of 2020. The use shut down. Building was vacant for several months, and then a COVID testing facility actually rented the space from them. And then there was another COVID testing facility that replaced that. Having lapsed the activity of the civic and social and fraternal organization use, they lost the special use permit coverage. After 6 months, if it's inactive, that status goes away. The facility reopened again in 2022, but had not obtained the special use at that time. And so now they're requesting to legalize the operation of the facility, which had already been operating. There's no changes between how it was operating in the past and how it's currently operating. So pre-COVID is the same as post-COVID on this. They do have a kitchen in the facility. This is the site plan showing the parking. And there is a kitchen in the facility, but the kitchen is not used for cooking of food. The petitioner has stated that food is brought in and catered from the banquet facility that is operated by the petitioner at 9131 Niles Center Road, or they'll bring in food from another restaurant and serve it to the patrons of the facility. And so case 2025-25P, the parking determination. Staff recommends that the Plan Commission determine the off-street parking requirement for 3941 Oakton Street to be 14 vehicle parking spaces and 1 bicycle parking space. This determination is not transferable to another assembly use. The 14 spaces is based off the 56 seats that they're now requesting in the facility versus the 50 they had prior, in the prior request. And case 2025-24P, the special use permit. Staff recommends that the petitioner's request for a special use permit for a civic, social, and fraternal organizations use at 3941 Oakton Street in a B2 commercial zoning district be approved, subject to the recommended conditions and proposed findings of fact. Staff further recommends that relief be granted from section 118-218B2 of the Skokie Village Code to provide 9 rather than 14 off-street parking spaces. We feel comfortable in granting this relief or requesting that this relief be granted, mainly because the facility offers a shuttle service. It's operated by the organization. The shuttle service provides off-site parking at the facility, the main facility at 9131 Niles Center Road, corner of Niles Center Road and Church Street. And additionally, there's a project by the Cook County Department of Transportation and Highways along Oakton Street, and we'll see this coming in the near term this year, where on-street parking will be added to Oakton Street, and the 4 lanes of Oakton Street are going to be reduced to 2 lanes with a middle turn lane and bike lanes. So right now, there is no on-street parking along either side of Oakton Street east of Crawford Avenue. These businesses all rely upon any parking they have off the alley. In the future, there will be some on-street parking available that can be utilized both by the petitioners, the patrons of the subject site, as well as any other users in the area. So this will be a great benefit to the neighborhood, and it will be able to provide some additional parking. And if there's any current overflow parking that's taking place in the neighborhood to the south, we want the petitioner to encourage that this parking, the new parking that will be available on Oakton Street, be utilized for those patrons.
Are they currently operating the space now?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. They have been operating, I've got it in the staff report. since July of 2022. That's when they reopened the
That's right,
facility
okay.
for the organization. Yeah. And the two testing facilities had moved out by that point. Recommended conditions for case 2025-24P. The maximum seating capacity shall be limited to 56 seats. Any increase in the seating capacity shall require an amendment to the special use permit through the full public hearing process, along with a request for relief from section 118, 218B2 of the village code that relates to the parking. And the petitioner shall submit to the planning division electronic files of the site and floor plans in their approved and finalized form. Proposed positive findings of fact. The request for a civic, social, and fraternal organization is consistent with the intent of the retail service employment use identified in the comprehensive plan. There should be no adverse effects of the proposed use upon the properties that are adjacent to the subject site. The requested civic, social, and fraternal organization use is compatible with the existing uses of adjacent properties. Adequate public facilities, including roads, drainage, utilities, and police and fire protections currently exist to serve the requested use. The request will have adequate provisions for maintenance of the associated structures. No adverse effects on the natural environment are anticipated, and restoration of landscaping on the north side of the building supports sustainability goals. Undue traffic congestion will not be created by the proposed use, as shuttle bus service will be utilized due to limited parking at the subject site. Additional on-street parking is planned to be provided along both sides of Oakton Street in 2026 and will be able to accommodate patrons of the use. Public health, safety, and welfare will not be adversely affected by the request. Most patrons will travel to the site via shuttle bus to address a deficit of 5 parking spaces. All other applicable provisions of this code are conformed to by this request.
Okay.
Concludes my report.
Thank you. Any questions of staff? I'll start on this side. Commissioner Berman?
Your positive findings of fact don't recognize the letter that we received from one of the neighbors that specifically addresses those things that you said were positive, wherein he says that there are extra cars parked behind the current parking in the alley for the current user, and that they operate late at night, causing disruption to the neighbors.
Right, we've brought that to the attention of the petitioner, and they will be working to fixing that, both of those issues, the hours as well as the parking which is causing obstruction of the neighbor's garage and the alley. So cars right now, I'll show you the aerial. Okay, so on this map, this is how it is approved. In back, this is the alley with the 5 parking spaces. What has been occurring, and also per the resident, is that cars are then parking in 2 rows parallel to the alley here, and then also right along the edge. So I believe there's a residence, it's south of here, off of Louise.
Across the alley? Yeah.
Across the alley. So we're going to be working with the petitioner to ensure that this be designated and marked as a no parking zone, and that the petitioner will also ensure that these activities are ending at 10 p.m. per their statement. If there's anything going on later, we have to ensure that that's not, that we come to that 10 p.m. hard stop.
So it is not a police violation if they don't end at 10 o'clock, or if they park cars in the alley. So the police can't ticket that. It's a building code violation.
If it's on private property, the police can't. But if these cars are extending out and preventing, the use of somebody else's property, or they're just generally obstructing traffic, then that would be a ticketable offense by the police department.
But
if
the
it's in a
time is
public
not.
right-of-way.
The time of operation.
The time it's self-regulated by the operator.
And then by the building code, we would go back to the building department or to planning department and say that this is not following the conditions that we set at this plan commission meeting?
Well, I mean, it's not specifically listed as a condition right now. The petitioner said they would be open to.
It might be.
Commissioner Berman wanted to
So
interject.
I just jump on what Mike said. I would recommend that be included as a condition, that as you may consider your, in your deliberations, you add that as a condition.
Okay.
To end
Yeah.
by, activities must end by 10 p.m.
Yeah, the petitioner is aware that, I mean, when they provide their presentation, they're aware that additional conditions may be added to this. Yeah.
Commissioner Jeff, any other questions?
Well, then just to follow up, no more than 9 parking places, that is a condition, correct? So they're in direct violation of a special use permit by anyone parking in addition to the 9?
Well, so the village, they're in violation of the zoning ordinance, because our code says you have to be parked in a striped parking space. And if you're parked and you're blocking other cars and you're just out in the pavement, that's already something that we could enforce through the village. The police wouldn't enforce it because it's not on public property, but if we are noted of it, then we would, send them a warning and say, you've got to park in your designated parking spaces or find somewhere else to park. That's in a legal area, either on the street, utilize the shuttle bus service, but you cannot, park sideways across the back of the property.
To be clear, that would be a violation of the special use permit, so that would be grounds to have that permit revoked if they violated that.
Yeah.
And then the second is, although they're not selling food per se, they're serving food, do we require the trash receptacles at the 2 doors? Or on the
Nothing's being
property?
carried outside with the food. I mean, unlike a carry-out or a restaurant, the food is consumed indoors for these parties or
Just for the
events.
benefits of those attending, that's,
Right. I mean, it's not like grab-and-go type of facility. It's just gonna be events inside, food's gonna be consumed inside.
Okay.
Commissioner Giuliano?
Thank you. So the limit is 56 seats inside. Is that a limit that was determined by like the space constraints in fire code, or is that just, like, because I saw there's a line also that if they wanted to increase that, they would have to come back to us?
Yeah, so that condition applied even in the previous ordinance. I believe fire would let them occupy even higher, but again, parking is the main concern of this. And we're trying to keep it within a reasonable amount. It is a small space, parking-wise, it's definitely underparked. They are getting the relief for these 5 parking spaces. And they do have the shuttle bus service, but we're trying to keep it reasonable within this 56
But in
seat.
theory, more than that could fit in the space?
Yes. They originally applied with a much higher number, and we brought it down to 56. It was at 50, and we kind of came up a little bit, but we capped it at that, mainly out of concern of the neighborhood.
Mike, I want to clarify. The parking in the rear of the building, if a car obstructs the alley or is actually in the alley space, that is a tickable offense.
It's within the village's right-of-way, so yes, the police
Correct.
could ticket based upon obstruction.
Correct.
But
Thank
once
you.
it's parked, if it's parked off that, to the north of that property line,
It's essentially an apron that sits behind the striped space.
Right.
That there's some space that people have chosen to park there. But if they're parking end-to-end cars in something's protruding out into the alley, that is a ticketable offense.
yes. And if they're blocking a resident's ability to get into their use of their garage.
That was
which
my
is-
point for the neighbor, to be able to call the police and say, I can't get into my garage.
If that car is in fact kind of overhanging into the alley, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we'll be working with the petitioner. Right now, the striping in back is much deeper than the 18 feet standard that we allow. So it's gonna be truncated at that level, and then we'll have the petitioner do some cross-hatching striping and designate that as a no parking zone, and it's gonna be their responsibility to, police that themselves and notify anybody who's parking in violation of that they've got to move their cars. There will be staff on site, so I believe there's usually typically 1 or 2 people on site who supervise the activities. So it's going to be up to the petitioners to make sure that that activity does not take place, and that we've only got 5 cars parked back there, and we've only got 4 cars parked in front. I've personally observed a couple cars double parked in front as well, and we need to make sure that that activity stops.
Any further questions from staff? Okay, very good, Michael, thank you. Next, I'd like to have the petitioner come up, please. Yes. And before they, I'd like to ask Corporation Counsel if their notice is in order. for this?
Yes.
Notices in order?
Yep.
Thank you. Gentlemen, raise your right hand, please. Do you affirm, do you affirm that the testimony you give tonight is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth so help you?
Yes.
Yes, could we have your name, please?
Steve Morano.
Yes, and sir?
Anthony Yosef?
Okay, so you heard the staff report. Do you have anything to add to that, or do you want to
Yeah,
make some comments?
yes, just the thing, just like last year, many years, we normally use it as the social committee. We have our banquet, Ornina Banquet, Senior National Council, 9131 Out Center Road. We have the elderlies there Monday through Friday from, let's say, 9 to 3 o'clock. In the summertime, we have the kids, they come out, we call it summer camp, we do the language classes for about 5 weeks, June through July. That's when we want to take the elders, we move them over to the Oakton building, we keep them there for those 5 weeks. And again, same time, 9 to 3, we have the kids at the banquet or the community center. Other times, we might have some events, maybe on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Last year, we probably had 15 total throughout the whole year, I want to say, because that's what we contracted with. A lot of times, it's just, we got baby showers, we have bridal parties, stuff like that, we do it. I know, at that time, I know a lot of times it was probably going after midnight. I wouldn't be surprised, people want to do it after 6 PM sometimes. But I'm not 100% sure the exact times, but I'm sure my neighbor will mention it, because honestly, I never knew until I got the email this was happening, what was going on, the parking situation, even people being loud. Because we constantly hear that at the banquet just from our kids. We have a neighbor there is always, hey, what's going on with the kids? They're too loud. Okay. But honestly, we could accommodate the neighbors. When we first got can I speak about that right now? Accommodate, yeah. So when I got the email that the cars are tandem parking, doing that, my first thing was telling Mike, hey, there was a few suggestions. Let's, we'll line by the wall, line it out as a no parking zone. Tony even said, hey, we could put the bumpers, so that way there's definitely no one could go into there, move up close as possible. So that way there's no tandem parking. I would love, and my thing is, everything I'm telling you, I would love it in the commission report, so I could take it back to the board saying, hey, we need to do this, so we need to spend the money, so it's okay. And the board will be 100%, will approve it. With the no parking, I would love the signage there. Hey, anybody who's not following rules has a right to be ticketed, will be ticketed by the police if that's allowed. Otherwise, any tickets will definitely be, the ones who we rent the place to, or it's not even rent. It's more like you use it, here you go, thank you. It's just, it's one of those things where we're just using it as as a place filler, to be honest. But again, we don't do many events. Saturday, Sunday, and because all our events are usually at our banquet hall, the big one. We do everything there. We usually have there's sometimes a funeral condolences. If we have an event at the banquet, people will come there and give their condolences at that location. Half the times it's empty. We just have to go there and check, make sure the heat is off, air conditioning off. It's one of those things where like, hey guys, check mail over there. That's what it is. But yes, June, July, those 5 weeks, we will be definitely busy Monday through Friday. And we will have some events here, there. We have one person who just asked it, can they use it? And we're at the point where like, listen, no more than 50 people. We're telling people 50. The reason we did 56, I have those 6-foot tables, 8 chairs, whatever it was, 8 tables, 2 chairs. We're like, I go, can we just make it 56? Make it nice and easy. And, I mean, that's.
What's your staffing schedule there?
If we have people there, there's somebody who's always with them. We have at least one manager on duty with them. But when the elders are there, 2 people are there with them. We have the vehicles that we brought for shuttles. We have an in-home service. We're an in-home service provider, caregiving. So we have vehicles where we do home visits and everything. At the same time, we have a minivan, some vet cars at the banquet. So those are the ones when they come drop off their car, we would take them back and forth. Again, we're big with the steering committee, so a lot of them, family drops them off, they come back and forth. A lot of them ride their bike, they walk. They're all over it. They're around this whole neighborhood. I mean, we're full in Skokie.
Very good.
But yeah, so we're at the point where I hope you let this happen just because it gives them a place to put them. At one point, we stopped it in the summer, but man, we haven't heard the end of it. So we're like, we brought it back, but we're like, we can't put the kids and the elders at the same time. So that's why we started using Oakton again. We're like, let's just use Oakton. I mean, that's what it was. It gives us something, and we put them there.
Okay, very good. Any questions of the petitioner? Commissioner Black?
Not so much a question, but a follow-up to your suggestion of installing parking curbs
Yeah.
that would
So-
basically prevent the cars from going as close to the building.
Exactly, yeah.
And eliminate any opportunity for additional parking.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're amenable to that, I think that would be a good condition to put into this.
Sure.
Yeah, definitely in the back, we could do it. In the front, I'm afraid of the front because they come in and it's hard to back out and go into the Oakton Street, scary. But in the back, definitely, because we didn't know that was happening. When I saw him, I was right away, we will take care of it. Another thing too, we're willing to give our phone number to the neighbors. Hey, if there's an issue, call. Because the first thing is, we're telling people, hey, you're using it, here's the rule. For 10 PM, 10 PM, 9:30, shut down whatever's happening, 10 o'clock, start, everybody should be out of the building. And our manager on the duty will make sure that if there's an issue, I get that call. First thing I'm calling my guy, Jack, Nuts, or whoever it is, hey, what's going on there? Why are they blocking the alley? And then, that's it, knock it out, get them out.
Very
And
good.
hey, if you guys allow it, ticket them. Police, I'll give you my permission. I'll go out there and I'll write the ticket myself. I'm sorry. I'm telling you. Yeah. Man.
Any questions of the Commissioner from my left here? No? Any further Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
At this point, I will open up the meeting for anyone who, would you sit down, I'll open up the floor for citizens' comments. I believe I have two people here. Howard Jacobson is first. Would you like to come up and? Also, the commission has received a letter from Howard. This is your letter, isn't it?
It was my letter.
Okay, very good. It'll be in the record. Okay, and you have 3 minutes, and who's the timekeeper?
Cool. I'm
Okay.
very impressed and pleased with the gentlemen petitioners because they've solved most of the questions. And to answer a question that you had, they have 2 dumpsters behind the building for
Okay.
trash. Trash comes on Monday. But the problem is that the parking, and the one thing about your comment about the on-street parking on Oakton, are you going to
Would you,
allow parking on
Mr.
Oakton?
Mr. Jacobson, could you please speak to us?
I'm sorry.
Yes.
The question is on the north side of Oakton is McCracken School. Are they going to allow on-street parking abutting the school? That's one. Second, on the south side, next to their facility, there's a swim school and a dance school. And right now, those 2 facilities are creating a big parking problem on East Prairie and on Louise, because they have no parking. Either one of those facilities have absolutely no parking. So it creates a bigger problem.
I'm aware of the swim school. They have no parking in the back. They have a drop-off in the back, but there's no parking.
Correct. And then next to that is the Insight Dance School, which uses the alley as a drop-off. And there's no parking on there either. So just thought I'd bring that up to you. Other than that, my concerns are addressed.
Thank you.
I had one question, and that's about East Prairie.
Yes,
So
sir.
East Prairie is a parkable street.
Yes, sir.
And that's where the people park when they're overflowing, either the swim school, the dance school, or even this facility.
But you also have residences on East Prairie, so.
Okay, thanks.
Next, I have Sue Reisberg.
Plan Commissioners, I'd remind you, this is public comment, and we don't respond to public comment.
And also to, we'll reset the clock.
Yeah, give me a minute to reset the clock.
You'll have 3 minutes. As soon as we reset the clock. I'm sorry to keep you waiting. close enough, we'll give it a little more.
Okay,
Thank you.
so a number of my questions were also addressed. I am on the south side of
Have your name, please.
Sue Briesberg,
Thank you.
and I'm on the south side of Oakton. Howard is on the north side, right behind where this facility is. I will reiterate that Louise is parked up from the Insight Dance Center. We love them. It's a great facility. But evenings, Saturdays and Sundays, because they are open Saturdays and Sundays, all of Louise is parked up. You can't get a place to park in front of your home, and evenings. I guess I'd be curious as to the number of elders that will be in the facility and if they are going to be shuttle bused there. And from a public health standpoint, from those of you who know I worked at public health as the nurse for many, many years, the dumpsters, when they're having the events, how often will the trash be picked up if there are large parties? Because we're all concerned with rats, and there are lots of dumpsters that overflow and are not checked, so that would be a concern. But the parking is a huge issue, because most of the time you can't park on your street. So I think that's it. But Mike answered a lot of questions, and so did the gentleman. And if you would give us your phone number, we would be happy. I don't call all the time, but yes, yeah, we would appreciate it because, as I say, high-density parking. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, is there anyone else who would like to step up and have a comment or a question pertaining to this case? Okay, none? Okay, very good. I don't see a need to bring the petitioner up. I think petitioner's questions about parking and everything has been resolved, and I think I have a good feeling that they will be, they will take care of the problems. Unless the petition was, do you have a comment or anything? Okay, very good. I'd be open for a motion on this case.
There was some conditions added, isn't there?
With conditions added conditions. So I need to vote case 2025-24P, which is the special use.
I'll make a motion to
Commissioner Jeff Berman,
accept the staff report with the conditions that were added during discussions.
okay, do I have a second? Who's that? Commissioner Franklin, thank you.
You have to state the
Okay,
Yeah, because, which the conditions were the 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock is the
curfew
time, yeah,
And the adjustment of the parking in back.
right. he's gonna-
Parking has wheel chops.
Wheel
That
chops, yes.
set the, wheel stops, wheel chops, that set the parking spaces back from the building, thereby eliminating the ability to park behind them.
Right,
As well as if we need to know parking on that section behind the.
correct. Okay. All right, okay. Any further comments, questions? None? Call for the vote. Commissioner Black?
Aye.
Commissioner Scott Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin?
Aye.
Commissioner Giviahu?
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman?
Aye.
Commissioner Matei?
Aye.
Now vote aye. This still has to go before the Board of Trustees for final approval, and
I think we have the other.
I think you're adding a great service to Skokie. We thank you. Thank you.
No, we only did
No,
one.
we only did one.
Oh, the parking determination. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
My fault. Now, the parking determination, we are the final authority on that, so this parking determination does not go before the board for final approval. So I have a motion to approve the parking determination.
I move approval as stated.
Scott Berman, Commissioner Giviahu, thank you. Let me get this. I'm sorry here, I'm just gonna check this off here and check this off here. Call for the vote. Commissioner Black,
Aye.
Commissioner Scott Berman.
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin,
Aye.
Commissioner Giviahu,
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman,
Aye.
Commissioner Matei.
Aye.
Now vote aye. And the parking determination has been set. Thank you. Okay. Next case on the agenda is case 2025-21P, amendment to chapters 118-60 of the zoning ordinance to add accessory dwelling units and any other necessary changes related to this request. This was notice is not required in this case, is that correct?
We noticed originally this was continued.
This is continued, okay.
Sorry, we noticed this, it was continued from the November case.
Okay, thank you. And we have, yes.
All right. Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. Justin Malone with the Community Development Department. We're here again tonight to discuss case 2025-21P, a zoning chapter amendment surrounding accessory structures in residential zoning districts. The sections of the village code surrounding accessory structures and uses are sections 11860 and 11891. This case was last discussed at the November 20, 2025 Plan Commission meeting, and it was continued until tonight. There were a few topics that we wanted to bring back to discuss and provide some clarification, and then also offer any updates that may have happened since the last time we were able to discuss the case. The first area to address was if there may be any potential external impacts of ADUs, such as density concerns and neighborhood parking. Staff looked at a representative section of part of the village's residential single-family districts, one of the districts, and determined that several lots, a significant number of lots within the district would not qualify for an ADU simply based on lot dimensions alone. This does not include other impermeable surfaces or lot coverage percentages as required by the districts. And parking is going to be discussed more on the next slide, but it's important to note that in terms of neighborhood parking, ADUs should not have an impact on street parking due to the proposed regulations in our draft language. Next, we wanted to address concerns of the potential impacts of ADUs that are internal to the lot itself. The current proposed draft code language may determine that if any sites are unable to provide parking, then they may not qualify for the ADU. Similarly, sites that are unable to meet zoning standards for their districts, such as side setbacks, also may not qualify for the ADU. But either of these items would qualify for the applicant to make a visit to the Zoning Board of Appeals, which may be handled on a case-by-case basis. And finally, the request by the village's fire department that approved ADUs have sprinklers. There was also some discussion regarding ADUs as short-term rentals. Since we last met in November, the village has passed an ordinance for a short-term rental pilot program, which contains similar language that's stated here, that no short-term rental of accessory structures are allowed, and short-term rentals may only be located within the primary structure on the property. And so staff still recommends approval of the amendments to sections 11860 and 11891 of the zoning chapter of the village code regarding accessory structures. And before I wrap up, I just wanted to touch real quick. Oops, where was that last slide? Sorry. Regarding some proposed legislation that was brought up yesterday during the governor's State of the State address. This is a different bill than HB 1813 that we've been following since we first started talking about ADUs. Part of the discussion from the governor was on housing in Illinois, specifically ADUs. And under the proposed legislation, ADUs would be made legal on all properties zoned for residential use. Local governments would still have the control of their standard bulk regulations, permitting and building inspection requirements, but would not be able to restrict ADUs. And so this sort of provides Skokie with two different roads to go down. Either we could get ahead of the legislation and put on some customized guardrails that we have spent time drafting and listening to the public, and permit ADUs for those community members that have shown interest. Should it be to take care of a loved one or house a caretaker, or we wait and see what the state's legislation says, should it come to fruition. And so that's complete staff's presentation, and I'm here for any questions.
Justin, any questions of staff? Whoa. Let's start over here. Commissioner Giuliano.
Thank you. If we do decide to get in front of the state legislation, and then the state legislation comes back, how does that, if there's anything stricter or less strict, can you explain what might change if we get ahead of it?
I can take that one. So the proposed legislation, it came out today or late last night, and it is basically prohibiting any type of zoning restriction that is, that exceeds what is ordinarily required for single-family zoning districts. So ADUs will be permitted in all residential districts, and then there will not be allowed any further restrictions that specifically regulate ADUs that are any more strict than single-family districts themselves. This is preempting home rule authority as it's currently drafted. So there's, I think, some creative ways to get ahead of this and maybe find other ways to regulate ADUs. However, it's still very, very early. The language literally came out less than 24 hours ago, I believe. And so I'm sure that many municipal groups and many municipalities will be providing a lot of input in the coming months before May 31st is when session ends. So I think we can expect to see this language evolve quite a bit. in the
Can I
next
ask a
few months.
follow-up question?
Yeah.
So if we pass something before the state, is that different than if we pass something after the state?
Well, as it's currently drafted, no. The current draft requires that within 8 months of them approving that legislation, the state legislation, that all municipalities will adopt
Their version.
regulations that line up with what the state has proposed. But we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah.
Thank you.
Commissioner Scott Berman.
In conversations with neighbors, an issue came up that I don't think we discussed at the last meeting, and maybe we can address that today, and that has to do with our home rule parking restrictions of on-site parking for every occupant of both the residence and then the ADU. If we are requiring that and taking away the parking that exists inside of a garage by converting the garage to an ADU, aren't we forcing, asking this in the positive or negative, aren't we forcing the cars then to be parked where previously there was grass, yard, front driveway, so that we are now creating a auto density issue on these lots where before we had green space and an open driveway? Have you discussed that?
I think that it's really kind of, I don't want to keep saying case by case, but, you have to get a little creative. We've seen ADU examples where it's, above the garage or not necessarily instead of the garage, because you would still need to have enough spaces besides the garage to have for your house
So
and ADU.
So the classic example was given of the back garage that's entered from a street front driveway. And that is obviously a 100-foot driveway. That 100-foot driveway could accommodate multiple cars on it leading all the way to the street. We don't restrict it, but we acknowledge that there isn't usually a line of cars in that driveway so that the streetscape is still residential. However, if people convert their back garage behind that 100-foot driveway to now space without talking about the attic of the garage, but the garage itself, are not we putting the two cars that were in the garage plus the ADU cars on that 100-foot driveway?
So interestingly enough, this bill that came out also would do away with parking minimums.
That's what I was
So,
gonna ask.
so the other piece of this puzzle that the state is preempting a home rule authority would be that we wouldn't have any control over requiring parking. So another,
Should make me happier, by the way.
you know, cars still have to, this is tricky for inner ring suburban communities that there is some reliance on personal vehicles. We do have transit, we have a lot of options, but we also still have cars. And so this is a reality and a balancing act to try to pass legislation in the state of Illinois, because we are all very different. We have a lot of different places to accommodate. So I think the sentiment of many of us in this profession and local government and city planning is that there's a lot of wait and see going on here between what was announced barely 24 hours ago and what this all will look like as it goes through hearings and the General Assembly and back to the governor's desk. So we're in an interesting position right now because we're trying to figure out, there's no way to have a crystal ball in this moment. So I think we're trying to do the best we can with what we have and try to pass what we can. But we anticipate that there may be something when this is all said and done that we would have to still respond to.
So just to wrap up, I'd like to then register my concern and my neighbor's concern that we not overpark our current lots, and the ADUs are that mechanism that might cause us to do that, both green space and existing driveways.
Commissioner Franklin?
Yes, some of my questions have been addressed, but what exactly do we think we can do tonight? Can we decide on that wouldn't be overturned? I'm hearing that whatever we would do would not necessarily be grandfathered in when the state makes their decisions.
So many of the things that are in here, lot coverage, rear yard coverage, the things that are already here already sit as accessory structure requirements. And so we're just allowing there to be dwelling units, and that's what and there's some tweaking here and there. So those are things that would carry forth as we move forward. And then if we have to make, depending on what the legislation says, if it does pass, if we have to do something, then there may be some changes we'd have to make.
Did I understand that the state said that as a municipality, we cannot tell a homeowner that they cannot have an ADU on their property if other parameters are met?
Correct. If it is approved in the way that it is currently drafted, that's accurate, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jeffrey?
So the one thing I think that was pretty specific coming out of the November meeting is to not be for commercial rentals, and this addresses short-term, and maybe I'm missing it, I don't see long-term rentals in here. Is the way this is drafted, you're anticipating it, that would be allowed, that you could rent the ADU out as a revenue source?
Yes, yeah, that was, anything that's longer at 31 days, I think, is considered short-term, so if you had a lease with somebody, then that would be permitted with the proposed, language.
And I'm assuming the governor's version is going to require us to do that,
Keep it with state too?
but
I don't think that there's any talk about any kind of specific rental regulations that specific, and who is allowed to be living there.
Not as it currently reads, it just says that you can't require any familial associations, so there's definitely room for interpretation that they can be rented out.
I see.
Okay.
Can't say it must be.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Giuliano?
How would occupancy limits be determined? Like based on square footage, or would there not be an occupancy limit?
So the building code, I believe, has a minimum living quarters square footage based on the number of people, and that refers to bedrooms also and beds, and so based on the size of your ADU, I'm not assuming it'd be similar to
Okay.
what's 2 people per room or something like that, or 1 per studio or something like whatever's in the building code.
Thank you.
So I had a question related to item B on page 1, maximum garage height. An accessory building cannot exceed 1 story or 15 feet in height. Then on page 3, item B, for a detached ADU with a flat or mansard roof, the height shall not exceed 20 feet measured by grade to the highest point of said structure, or 2 stories, whichever is less. What's a differentiation? I'm confused.
So the 15-foot requirement is what's in the code currently, referring to garages only, and then that's all it stops at in terms of accessory structures. So we wanted to still be able to have a requirement for garages, but if you wanted to have a living capacity in it as well, then we would grant you some more space to be able to build higher.
Okay, so if I take a standard 2-car garage, tear it down, I can put in a 2-story, 20-foot high and not be required to have a garage on the first floor of that building.
You would still be required to have the required parking for the your main structure, and then one required spot for the ADU.
Okay, so that answers some of the parking. The reason why I ask that is when I look at the 2 stories, I think traditionally of a garage apartment or what we would call coach house in fancy big estates. In this case, you could do a garage apartment. Most Danley garages, by the way, are not suitable for second floors. You'd have to tear it down, build a new building, bring in water, sewer, sprinkler the building, but it would still be required to have the parking spots required for the existing dwelling unit plus the additional.
Correct. So if you had a 2-stall garage, you tear it down, you build a 2-stall garage with the living space above it, you would need to have one more on the
No,
side.
that wasn't, I think Russ's question was, if you tear that down and build a 2-story structure, not a garage any longer, now it is a 2-flat in your backyard.
Correct.
And all of that is living space.
Okay.
Having a lot of capacity for occupants, because it's now 2 stories, it costs a few $100,000, but doable. I think you then need possibly 4 on-site parking spaces. And that is the question. The lot might accommodate it by taking away all the grass that was previously there and whatever driveway space.
Sure.
So you could park cars all over the place, and you would wind up with 2 structures on the lot, allowably, and parking for 4 cars on the lot and no grass. And that's my question, that was my question to begin with. I think it's Russ's follow-up, and that's why I'm concerned about this as a density issue for Skokie.
And I think that is also addressed in the ordinance, Scott, because it issues related to the amount of permeable space that has to be available. Many of these lots are not going to be suitable for an ADU, period. I look at my own personal property. I am on a 73-foot lot with a small house. So I have 30 feet of vacant, unbuildable property next to me. My house would be ideal for an ADU because it would fit in. I'd much prefer to have a big house, but that's a different whole story. So the permeable surface is going to be an issue for many of our property owners, thinking that the small ranch house on a 40-foot lot to me with a very small backyard is not going to be able to accommodate an ADU.
So I go back to the comment, one of the primary issues I raised before, and I actually thought in November, I'm a little disappointed that, I thought there was a good solution offered up for no commercial use, and so we're back to rentals again, and it's not specifically addressed in here, but then I go back to my question that I had in November, if we allow rentals on these, is it gonna fall under the neighborhood integrity ordinance?
Yes, in terms of required registration for the rental and annual inspections, everything
So,
like that.
and I don't mean to keep bringing this up, but what confidence level do we have that we are currently managing all the rental houses, single-family houses in the village under the neighborhood integrity ordinance, and now we're gonna be adding more to that?
The single-family houses that are rentals,
Uh-huh.
those are the ones that the building department downstairs here handles, and though they have inspectors that are assigned to that.
Well, the building department would if it was new construction, but if somebody just moved out of their house and decided to rent it and not tell anybody, which,
If they're supposed to get it registered. If our code says if you are renting your home in that way, you have to have it registered.
but I go back to my original question, how do we know when that occurs, when somebody vacates a house and moves further north or to even within the village and rents that house out? what comfort level do we have that the majority of those houses are currently being
So
inspected?
sometimes, anecdotally, sometimes we come across it because a water bill changes, or there's other things that we sort of are able to suss out. Certain patterns change, people aren't living there, sometimes grass doesn't get cut, other things. So we come upon that, but we don't do some kind of inventory regularly to inspect, are you the owner, are you the renter? We don't have a way to do that. The staff does their best job to do the round inspections, to go through and do the inspections. But there's also, we're dealing with a significant amount of complaints about concerns, and so we're working through that. We're in the process of triaging a bit of a new process to make sure we're getting to more of the properties. But, we're only as good as the data that people, and the honesty of people to submit that they are renting their home. But some of the best information is some neighbors who identify that somebody is not, things have changed. And we do get the neighbors and the community that cares to inform us on these things.
Okay.
Thank you.
Commissioner Franklin?
So.
And then Commissioner Black.
Do I understand in Skokie, if you were to have an ADU, you still have to have the homeowner in the primary residence?
Yes, that's the way that we kept it, that we rented, or that we wrote it there.
And did I also understand that the state, in their new rules, are not requiring that, in their new suggestions?
I don't remember anything about required occupancy on site.
I don't think it's addressed,
Okay.
but I'd have to double check.
Okay.
And again, that's not approved yet, so.
No, I understand
Yeah,
that. I understand it's not approved, but I thought I read something that said that perhaps I misunderstood it, but that the homeowner did not have to live on the property of the ADU. Okay.
Commissioner Black, did you have a question?
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on the conversation earlier about whether or not the state will preempt what we put together, why should we go first or second or whatever. To me, it's important that we get our views on paper, approved, and out into the community of the state. That's much more valuable than to just be here saying, oh, by the way, state people, we'd really like you to consider this. I think we've put a lot into this, there are planning committee, people have put a lot into it, the village has, we have. Let's get our views on paper and approved so that they have more weight behind them. And I think when the state is considering things, they have a document that says, hey, Skokie approved this is what they think. So I really think we should go forward with this.
Okay. Commissioner Ross?
Page 2, question related to item 3 at the bottom of the page, minimum lot size. It says none. I understand that the 4 is the minimum ADU size, which is 220 feet, and the maximum is 1,000 total square feet of the living space. But why does it not indicate a minimum lot size?
I'm sorry, are you on the?
Page 2
draft
at the
language?
bottom. It's item 3, minimum lot size, none. Is that because it falls under the main property of whether or not it qualifies based on the parcel of property that it's being built on?
I'm trying to,
Page 2.
yeah, I'm
Under
trying to.
special regulations,
H.
which is H, in item 3.
I believe that it was written that way to not require, not require a minimum lot size. I guess that's what I was trying to say. I'm trying to think back to how we came up with this.
Yeah, because to me, that's disconcerting, because
if I
again, we
may.
have a lot of 40 feet, and we're talking about setbacks, we're talking about size of backyard, permeable surface, what's the required, many aren't going to qualify, but then here it says the minimum lot size, the smallest that you can do it on, is none.
Wouldn't,
Well, remember, under 6, for both attached and detached ADUs, the maximum FAR or lot coverage of all structure on the zoning shall be that of the underlying zoning district. So,
Right.
That's what I was suggesting, is that this is the encompass of the entire property versus we're looking at the ADU as its own particular dwelling.
right, so
built on.
6, the FAR and the lot coverage are
Thank
going to lead that, and that's where, as we, to Commissioner Black's points, that's where it'll be especially important to think about if we want to make any changes or any other requirements to lot coverage issues. Not necessarily for here, other things as we think about state preemptions, because these are, we do have flooding concerns in Skokie, and lot coverage
Exactly.
is one of the key ways in which we can address our concerns that relate to adding more in the built environment.
That's okay, but now following up on Ross's point about square footage, FAR, and my permeable space, I don't see any way that we have currently written that in. All we've said is that we have a parking requirement for on-site parking, and that we have an FAR requirement for a number of occupants on a site, but we haven't said that the permeable space on that lot must be such as not to be infringed upon by the new parking that we are overlaying on this.
No, it would apply.
Where's the,
It's in a separate section of the zoning code. It's not going to say
about
here.
permeable that you must,
Impervious surface calculations. You have to meet,
so you can't pave over the grass just to
you
accommodate
certainly
parking.
cannot, we would never allow that.
Okay.
You can't
Commissioner Black,
pave.
did you want to get in on this, or?
I just follow up, if you look at all the references, things like permeable surface, setbacks, all that's covered and addressed. None of the requirements that we have now are superseded by anything that's in here based on the references they made.
Okay. Commissioner, do you give you
I don't know if there's really like a concrete answer to this question, but are there any things that we would want to address in terms of like utility strain or additional electricity, additional water usage, additional garbage, things like that? How would that be something we'd want to get ahead of?
Well, in terms of.
I don't have any
Sure,
suggestions.
no.
Putting it to
So
you
there
guys.
is, we can, it's not, what I'm hearing is a lot of good discussion, and I think this sounds like we're not going to make a decision tonight, and we can bring this back to a future meeting, and you have many members of the public here. We can do some additional research on utility best practices for, sure, and there's also some best practices, I'm sure our Public Works Department would have, would want to provide some feedback on how we would connect to existing utilities.
That would be something that I think is helpful, because one of the things that I would say is, we do have a mandate to replace the water lines. If you're to come forward with a substantial building permit or adding an ADU, we would require that you put in that at the time of drawing that permit, correct?
Sure, yeah, well, it all depends on how they're connecting, and so if this ADU is connecting through the principal structure, likely most home services are 1 inch, and if you're
Correct.
adding additional service, you may have to go to 1.5 inches, 2 inches. How many fixtures are you gonna have in that ADU, could drive what you're doing in terms of that water utility, and/or the sanitary sewer connection.
Yeah, because if you're doing a garage apartment in particular, your ability to be able to pull through water and sewer from the street, I mean, it's cost prohibitive. I understand that the country in itself has got a housing issue. We're 6 million units short. Supply and demand, that's why prices continue to go up along with real estate taxes and the costs. You take a $400,000 average house in Skokie, put an ADU on it, let's say you spend $250,000, I have $650,000 into this. This isn't gonna solve the affordability issue, folks. It's not. It's gonna help supply and maybe help reduce some of our rents a bit, but it's really not gonna be, most people are not gonna look at this financially and say, this is a good idea. You'd move to a larger house. I don't think there'll be huge demand to this. Right now, they're projecting $400,000 to build one of these units. Thank you.
okay. Commissioner Berman.
I just have a
Jeff
question
Berman.
for council. I mean, this has been pending in Washington in the state for at least a year, maybe more, and really with no movement. Now, Pritzker said yesterday, the governor said yesterday that he wants to move it, but who knows? And I don't know how this differs, what he proposed yesterday from what was been sitting in Springfield forever. And even if it does pass, because it's preempting home rule, won't it be tied up in the courts? I would assume more than one municipality that would find that offensive would file suit against it. So I think we're talking about something that could drag on for years. And, you know, getting ahead of it might be a great idea, but this still doesn't address what the mission was when you guys left the last time, which was no commercial use. And, you know, and still allowing for rentals in it. And that was one of the big objections. And I still, unless the village is gonna staff, I mean, Ross's point is well taken. They may not be utilized well because they're gonna be so expensive. But even if they are, we're adding to the staffing issues in the village to do the inspections or whatever. And we're relying on everybody being open and honest about wanting to participate in the neighborhood integrity. I just think it's, you know, unless to do something now, I think we're not ready to do. And so I think that we're much better off waiting to see if the state does anything at all.
Well, you can propose, make it as a, you know, as a,
So the way I want to clarify something. The way I understand this is we have 8 months from this through October, where municipalities will have to have a
something in
policy in place. Is that correct?
If it passes.
Yeah, so the effective date will be January 1st of next year. So assuming, or worst case scenario, this isn't passed until the very end of session, you're gonna have about 7-8 months to develop an ordinance that complies with whatever act is passed.
Okay.
Otherwise.
I thought I
you're in
saw it as
violation of the act.
October, thinking it's February now. That's
January
it. It's
1st,
yesterday, that's
yeah.
8, so it's
No,
February
It's got
1st.
to be
January
passed
1st.
and then signed by, whatever passes, signed by the governor.
Well, and I think we're in an advantage just from the standpoint that we are essentially ahead of this. I can imagine many of our communities in the north are going, yeah, ADUs, no.
yeah. Well, Commissioner Berman, what are you proposing? Do you think you want to make a motion to move this down the road, or should we just?
Yeah.
Well, let me ask,
Yes, I would make a motion that we defer further discussion on this, it would allow the board to do greater research and we watch what's happening in the state. It's still, even when they decide to start going through the legislature, we'll have time.
well, my question
to
is,
vote
how
on it
much
then.
further down the road do you think you want to move it?
Until it seems quite likely that something's gonna pass and be signed into law in Illinois.
Well, if we're going to continue it, you need to continue it to a certain date. And then when that date comes up, if we're still not ready to discuss, we can continue it again, but we do need to continue it to a date specific.
And the other issue is this was, even if it was referred to by a previous village board that is no longer seated, the board did ask for this at some point. So we do need to move it forward, and you can strongly recommend that further study. I mean, this is all new territory for all of us, so I think, you know, however you want to condition those recommendations, but it should at some point travel to the village board, particularly to Commissioner Black's point, as we look to advocate for the village of Skokie, and we look to the partners in other Northwest Municipal Conference, Illinois Municipal League, all the groups that we work with. The village of Skokie having a position or opinion or some work done on this is probably helpful from a policy perspective as well. So just my 2 cents in guidance.
Well, that would be my 2 cents. You know, move this on, let the board decide when they want to move on it. I mean, we can just basically dump it in their laps.
Well, then you have to dump something. We have to dump something in our laps that we agree on, and right now, we're not in agreement relative to
You
the
can also
commercial
pass
aspect
it on
of it.
without a recommendation. It does not need to
That's true.
it does not need to travel with a negative or a positive recommendation. But I would advise to do public comment here and collect additional feedback.
Okay, why don't we do that?
So I want to be clear on that, though, procedurally. So we don't have to vote. We could vote to pass this to
Onto the board.
the board, and we don't actually
Well,
vote on this.
with no,
It's a motion, it would be a motion to pass this to the village board.
Without a recommendation.
without a
Without a
recommendation.
recommendation, without an approval
I don't think
from
we
the
wanna
plan
do that.
commission.
We could do that. Okay, I'm gonna entertain one question from Commissioner Black, then I'll open it up for public comment. Commissioner Black?
Yes, a couple of things. First, because of the cost to build these ADUs, I think it's highly unlikely that we're going to find residents in the village of Skokie that are going to find it economical to build an ADU and rent it out. They will never be able to get enough rent to pay the carrying costs of building an ADU in their backyard, along with all the utilities and everything that go along with it. At the same time, there are probably residents in Skokie, in the R1 and R2 districts, that if the ADU were passed and approved, that would say, you know, I would love to have my parents be able to live in the ADU in my backyard. I have 3 of those instances within my family in other areas of the country. So I am sure that there are people in the village of Skokie who would take advantage of this to be able to build an ADU for their family members. By passing this, we allow that to happen with the recognition that, yeah, there might be some crazy person out there that thinks they can build for cheap and later on find out they can't get enough rent at all to pay the freight. So I'm not too worried about all these people that are going to start building these ADUs for rental purposes, because it doesn't make sense economically. They'll lose money.
My only concern with that comment is related to corporations that build these types of properties and invest in these properties. It's
They
throughout-
still can't make it. They won't be
I
able to make
disagree,
it.
but that's okay.
Yeah.
As a banker, I,
Comment, though, that goes back to what we said last time and didn't take place in this draft, is then why even allow it? Why allow rentals?
Because the state document will.
Well, we can adjust it then, but if we're gonna move something forward and we wanna get our opinion down, our opinion is that we don't wanna hide behind the fact that no one may be able to afford it. Well, let's come out and say we don't want them for commercial purposes.
yeah.
If we're making a statement with this document that we're gonna post, then let's make a statement in terms of what we really believe we want. It may not pass, it may not get by the state's version of it, but at least we put forth what we
You
wanted.
could make that as a comment to the board.
I could,
Yes.
but I'd rather see it go in the document that goes to the board.
Well,
than
yeah,
what
you
we
can put it
feel.
in the document.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna, at this point, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna ask people from the audience for comments. Before we do that, though, I believe we do have Commissioner Dick Witry does have a comment from wherever he is.
Thank you, Commissioners, I do have that here. This was an expected absence for Commissioner Witry, but he shared his thoughts in writing, and I will read that. We did have a conversation. By the way, he reached out to me yesterday, so.
Okay.
Kate, pursuant to our conversation on Wednesday evening, I informed you that the definition of ADU is insufficiently drafted and suffers from a lack of clarity. Accessory dwelling unit, ADU, means an attached or detached residential living unit on the same parcel on which a single-family dwelling is present or may be constructed. The ADU provides complete independent living facilities for one or more persons, including permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. The ADU may take various forms: a detached unit, a unit that is part of an accessory structure, such as a detached garage, or a unit that is part of an expanded or remodeled dwelling and is subordinate to the principal structure. The touchstone for an ADU is that it will be on the same parcel as a single-family dwelling unit. Within the definition, it states expanded or remodeled dwelling unit, and then subordinate to the principal structure. In subparagraph F, the ordinance relies on principal use of the building, in parentheses, whatever that is. Subparagraph G cites G2, cites within the permanent structure. Again, if the
sine qua non of permitting an ADU that is to be on the same parcel as a single-family dwelling unit, then the ordinance refers to principal structure, principal use of the building, and permanent structure. In my opinion, the language utilized must always refer to single-family dwelling. Principal structure, principal use of the building, and permanent structure are imprecise. Lastly, I have not had the opportunity to review the state statute as the link was broken. We resolved that with the commission. We are having technical problems as a side comment. Perhaps we should study the state statute a little more before advancing this matter to the Board of Trustees. If present tonight, I would vote not to advance the matter to the Board of Trustees. Our legal counsel should have the opportunity to review and tighten the offered language. Please share these thoughts with my colleagues and counsel. Dick Witchery.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, I will open up for citizen comments. I have a Charlie Satay, who... Oh, Sachs. Oh, I thought it was a T. I'm sorry.
I've heard all kinds of pronunciations, so that's okay. We're good.
And please, everybody will be given 3 minutes for comments. And since we set the clock, you can
Does
run.
that mean 90 hours? I have 90 hours?
Go ahead.
It is a difficult remote
All right. I'll just,
Would you just, again,
hold off.
state your name?
Okay, my name's Charlie Sachs. I live in Tripp Avenue in Skokie, and I'm a member of the Subcommittee of Housing through my involvement with the Sustainable Environment Advisory Commission. My comments tonight are mine alone and not a representation of the Housing Subcommittee or the Sustainability Commission. I had some prepared comments, but this is clearly a moving target. But there's some general things that I'd like to say. In my participation on the Housing Subcommission, Subcommittee, I've been encouraged by the conversations and the work that we have done to date. Similarly, I'm pleased to see that the village addressed the issue of ADUs as recommended in the sustainability plan. When this ordinance was introduced to the subcommittee, I saw it as a first step to enabling ADUs. However, I also raised concerns about whether this proposal would actually allow ADUs given the nature of the requirements that included. My support for advancing this ordinance for further consideration at the subcommittee was a recognition that there is progress being made, and as flawed as this draft is, it is a path we need to travel to create an optimal solution. My personal goal on the Housing Subcommittee is to promote an environment that cultivates and nurtures a healthy and robust housing ecosystem, an ecosystem that enables households of a variety of compositions and incomes to have a healthy housing choices that are responsive to their needs and aspirations. I believe that that's an environment that currently does not exist in Skokie. Skokie's current housing infrastructure was built by and for a society that no longer exists. In addition to the natural challenges and changes in our economy, demographics, and environmental and social conditions, our housing ecosystem is also encumbered with onerous local regulations that are inherently designed to prevent things from happening. A constraining approach that effectively requires complex and expensive appeals for relief to do anything. This proposed ordinance is a continuation of that approach, which inhibits necessary and appropriate adaptation and squanders opportunities for beneficial development. If there is to be a genuine interest in enabling ADUs, this ordinance will need to be revised to reflect an affirmative intent rather than focusing on constraints making ADUs impractical. I want to address a couple of things about some concern that I've expressed, and this was not part of my original prepared comments, but given the nature of the moving target that we are dealing with today, a lot of the ADUs tends to be focused on the fully occupiable units. What's actually happening in the village is people are extending their existing dwelling units into their garages. And we need to have an ordinance that recognizes this adaptation to the way people are actually living, so that we can do this in a way that is productive and constructive.
I'm sorry, your time is up. But you know what you can do? Put your thoughts in writing, and that you submit it to us, and it become part of the record.
Yeah, sure.
Okay?
All right, very good, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Simon Marcus?
That's all right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Ellen Weber. Would you state your name, please?
Okay. My thanks to Charlie for clarifying that we can speak as members of the subcommittee, so. Kate, I don't think I'm going to take 3 minutes.
Kate, you have 3 minutes to figure out.
There we go.
There you go.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Ellen Weber. I'm a member of the Housing Subcommittee, but of course, I'm speaking tonight as a resident. I've spoken to many of my neighbors, and they are not happy with the proposal. Yet, they see the value in family members. And in fact, on our block, we have 4 intergenerational families. I'm one of them. I moved in a couple years ago with my 91-year-old mom, who's lived in the home for 50 years. So it can be done without this in place. We have 4 families that have intergenerational situations. At the subcommittee, we actually had 2 folks that lived in Skokie that said they wanted to do this for their home, for their families. We had 2 folks that had showed up early on wanting to move here, do an ADU, live in the ADU, and rent the home. So it was a commercial purpose. I was not happy with the element of commercial leasing of these, and I liked the Northbrook. So that was me personally on the committee. I do want to make one comment, section 118-91, the sentence on home occupations, the last sentence is proposed to be struck, and I am a retired community development director. In my experience, that sentence has been in every code I've ever worked with, and the purpose was to keep home occupations in the building, so you're not repairing cars outside. I don't think the entire sentence should be struck. I think it should say within the home or the accessory dwelling unit, should we move forward with those. But the point being, you don't want outside home auto repair and other uses. And then piling on, adding on to the comment about if the state removes our ability to require the parking, does that mean the rear garage could be torn down and without parking, you could have a 2-story ADU? So my folks on my block do not believe this should happen, because at what point is your single-family zoning district no longer single-family? And it impacts their property rights. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to come up and have a comment? Please come up. Oh, sir, okay, why don't you both come up and stand along the wall here, please? Anyone else who wishes to comment, please just kind of get up and get in line. Thank you. Okay, until we get the timer set, do you want to give us your name for the record? Yes, sir.
Okay, well,
Would you give us your name for the record?
I did not intend to say anything tonight.
Well, that's
But
fine,
I-
but I would just like to
but I
have your name for the
feel
record,
like
please.
My name is Jonathan Lavin.
Thank you.
I live in Skokie on Laramie.
Okay, your 3
And I
minutes is just started.
appreciate the work that's gone into these proposed ordinances and approaches to the subject of ADUs. And I wanted to, we've asked the staff to research and to go through a number of steps to see if they could come up with something that makes sense for us. And I think it was well said that we're talking about a very expensive addition, and we're talking about very few people taking advantage of it. And the problems that we see in terms of parking and congestion, I just don't think are relevant. I think it's going to be a very modest type of change. And major thing is that if a family believes that it can support an older relative or younger disabled children in a setting where they can use their property and they can build and have the resources to build something, I just think we should let them do it. And I was I'm on the Housing Subcommittee with my colleagues, and I just think we need to approach this in terms of saying, how are we going to accomplish this? Not no. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
I already gave my name earlier,
I
Anthony
need your
Yosef.
name again for this.
Anthony Yosef.
Thank you.
So I'm a resident of Skokie also. I do own a lot of rentals. okay? The best way to know who's renting is make sure they pay the water, not the homeowner pay the water bill, the rental should pay the water bill. So I have that issue in other villages where we pay the water bill, the village doesn't know who's renting or not. The second thing is, if you're gonna build a garage as a resident, I mean, you're putting a house on top of the garage, you're supposed to have a 5 feet setback for the garage. The minimum setback for living space, as far as I know, is 30 feet. So is that gonna work? The second thing, you could only build 60% of your property. Doesn't matter if it's a coach house and a regular house, whatever it is, it's 60%. You can't go over that. And as far as me personally, I don't want any coach houses in back of my house. I don't think that's good for my area. I think we'll bring the houses down instead of up. That's the way I think. If you have someone that you care for and you want them to live with you, you can put an addition on your house and you could have a living space there. As far as the water services, they're only allowed one water service per lot, so they're not gonna have two, they're gonna have one. They would have to increase it, depends on the bathrooms. You know, anything above 32 fixture unit, they have to put an 1.5 inch service in there. As far as electrical, yeah, they're allowed to do two, but most people will go with one service. And that's my comment, I don't
Okay,
want it.
thank you. Is there anyone else? Okay, not seeing anyone else. I'm going to close public comments. Commissioner Giviago?
I have a question for staff. It's very nice to have so many of our housing subcommittee colleagues here. Was this topic brought to them before it came to us, and what's being presented to us came from them?
It's a recommendation from the Housing Subcommittee. So the Housing Subcommittee, as you'll recall, has been charged with implementation of the housing chapter.
Yeah.
And so their work has largely been focused on some of the zoning changes. You know, there's a communication in here of some changes that we're thinking of bringing in the coming months to the group, and so wanted to give you an alert on that. But they spent 2 meetings, I think, on this topic, and there was a group, a couple of members, not a group, really a group, that also discussed this prior to it. So there was a little discussion and consideration before it came to the full group.
But this specific draft was not seen.
No, we provided, I think, Justin, this was the exact same, almost the exact same draft that the subcommittee reviewed, yes.
Okay.
At this point, move for a motion. Commissioner Black, do you have a comment before we?
Yeah, just one comment. I'm looking at the draft and item G2. An ADU cannot be used for a business that is not associated with the property owner that resides within the permanent structure. And I thought we talked about this before, to the question about some, institutional buyer coming in and buying out these single-family residences and then building ADUs. I thought we were saying that the property owner has to reside in the principal structure on the site as part of this ADU situation. Is that not correct? I mean, that eliminates the possibility of some institutional investor coming in and buying up a bunch of single-family homes in the area and building ADUs.
I concur with you. I believe that would be true. Was that?
Well, I was gonna say, I think that this was written in the idea that you build your home office above the garage or something like that, and then you decide to rent it out like a suite from an office space, and we didn't want to have that happen. Like if you wanted to have your home-based business, and that would be your business, not the business of,
Right.
that you advertise space for.
So can we add something then there in here that's specific to an ADU? Yes, it could be built as long as the property owner is the principal resident, is that principal residence of the property owner. So they can't have people going and buying up, single-family residential dwellings and adding ADUs.
I think the state will actually have that language
I
in
think it
that.
does.
Yeah.
I read the draft and I believe it does, but could Could we make sure that's clear, more clear in our draft?
I concur with that. The other thought there is, how do you police that? I understand we have a real estate closing, we know there's a commercial, but LLCs buy personal properties all the time.
Has to be an owner-occupied building. We just-
They would kind of, freeze them out.
You know, they could
Only
go
if
and
we're
buy
not-
it, then we find out about it, and
That's-
there's a fire sale for this house.
I believe we should
Yeah,
have language on the books in case that does happen,
yeah,
even though it's.
But
hard
the
to
state will
enforce.
supersede whatever we're gonna do.
Right.
yes. But again, to put the owner-occupied requirement in our draft, again, is something that's good to have out there in the public.
Yeah, can we
Um,
do that? Okay.
A follow-up on.
I would, any of the, we're taking copious notes here, but I would also, as you make recommendations to move this forward, I'd make sure that there's a main recommendation. And then if any amendments to the language that's here, those would be separate and voted on separately. So if you want to add, if there is a motion to provide a positive or a negative recommendation for this to move to the village board, you make that, and then while that motion is on the table, then you make additional motions to add language, so we're very clear in what you're adding, if there's things that want to be added.
The amendment has to precede the motion, and also if we're going to move to table, that would precede everything.
Correct.
So that's up
Sure,
to Jeff.
yeah.
That seems as it's up to Jeff Berman as to whether he
Okay.
wants to move to table before we can even get into amendments.
Okay, Commissioner Jeff Berman, finally, yes. Last
Well,
comment.
No, I mean, look at, Johanna even said that she hasn't had really time to talk to her colleagues within other communities and their approaches and what have you, and and everyone keeps saying, well, it's only been out for 24 hours or less, so we really haven't. I think we need to table it for at least 30 or 45 days to allow for further research to come back. You want a date certain, so, you'd be in mid-April or early April, for whatever meeting that is, to come back and see what the general attitude is around surrounding suburbs, and also to just have a chance to digest the bill and see what the climate is in Springfield about it moving. And, or actually, it hasn't even been drafted into a bill yet, I don't think. Has it? Okay, so that would be my number one motion, is to table this for 30 days for further research to come back to us. And then I do have an amendment or consideration, which was I'd like to make a motion that we amend this, or with a really good reason why not, back to what we talked about in November, that it not be allowed for commercial use.
Let's do one at
Take
a-
one motion at a time.
Yeah, one at a time.
Okay,
First motion.
to table it for 30 days for further research.
You're not going to table it, you're going to move to continue it.
All right, we'll move to continue it.
Do we have a second?
And
To which
just, hold on, and before you move to continue it, that ends the discussion. So then there's.
That's why I said,
Can I ask a question then? before you
Quickly,
move to do
quickly.
anything?
Yes,
You know, I
quick.
have when Commissioner Berman is talking about not for commercial use, is that my home business if I have an ADU?
No.
This is a rental of an outside
exactly.
business. Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, there's a motion on.
so as Jeff wanted,
Jeff has a motion to continue. Do I have a second?
well, he wanted to add language.
No, that's another motion.
I'm doing that second.
So we need a second to table.
Wait,
To continue.
Okay, Commissioner, okay, motion to table.
No.
Motion to continue.
I used the wrong word,
To
sorry.
a date.
To which specific date?
Date certain, we'll say.
So the next meeting,
First meeting in April.
Okay.
no, we don't, okay, so back
All right.
up, hold on, there's not
I'm
a,
gonna take a vote.
Wait, Johanna's clarifying.
We can't vote yet.
we can't vote until we have it, we're continuing to a date certain. So the options we have are March 19th or April 16th. Now, April 16th, we may not have a meeting, because that is also the same night as a budget hearing
Right.
that staff has to be at, so that is up in the air. So the choices would be March 19th, or we look to May.
March 19th?
19th.
March 19th, okay.
Oh, I'm not in
Won't be here.
town, but, oh well.
Okay,
So it's two.
so
Give me your proxy.
the motion is made by Commissioner Jeff Berman, seconded by Commissioner Matei. I will call for the vote. Commissioner Black,
Nay.
Commissioner Scott Berman,
Aye.
Commissioner Franklin,
I think I'd like to vote nay also.
okay, thank you. Commissioner Giviahu,
Aye.
Commissioner Jeff Berman,
Aye.
Commissioner Matei,
Aye.
and I'll vote nay. So motion fails to table.
No, pass.
It passed. I'm sorry. You're right. My math is off. Okay, it passes, I'm sorry. Okay, so the second motion. Is that correct?
That's it.
We're done.
We'll talk on March 19th.
Okay, that's right.
We can all send our comments to the planning staff as we read the state rules more and we see what we think and what our neighbors think. That's what we will do.
I think it's been a while since I've
Okay, so, okay, all right. At this point, the floor is open for citizen comments in general.
Wasn't there one more?
Gentlemen, please, a little order. The floor is open to citizen comments in general. Anybody wishing to speak on anything? Okay, not seeing anyone? All right, this meeting is adjourned. No, we have someone?
I just want to make, we have communications on the second page. I know it got a little orphan over here. Just wanted to make, highlight that there were additional zoning changes recommended from the zoning committee of the Plan Commission. So given that we have an agenda item on March 19th, we will bring those items on that night as well. Or maybe the March 5th, we'll figure out. No, March 19th. Because for noticing, yep.
Is there no March 5th meeting? Or-
There will be a March 5th meeting. We have a auto repair.
No, we
Yeah,
have,
but this case will go on the
two
19th.
cases. We have, one from Halal Quorum
What?
and one, from Adjournment.
So, that's right, of course. We have two site plan approvals, one from Drive Tenneco and the second from Halal Torah. So we have two site plans, so that's why we're not doing a meeting on the 5th. That is the 5th.
Okay. Again, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for attending. Drive carefully.